Fuchsia, you know what? I've really been in the mood to watch The Last Unicorn. Have you?
I'm always in the mood to watch The Last Unicorn.
That's crazy. Do you know what I think we should do?
What should we do?
Put our noggins together, careful of the horns, and figure out a day. Watch out with that thing, and figure out a day to watch The Last Unicorn together with the Celestial Cafe community.
A community movie night?
On
topic?
What? Crazy.
Wow.
So I'm gonna come up with a random date and time in my head. What about January 25th? That's a Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST. We can all come together on the Celestial Cafe Discord and watch The Last Unicorn together.
That sounds great. I already have it on my computer ready to go with subtitles and everything for people who don't hear very well on Discord.
You rock. You rock for that. That's crazy how easily we came up with that idea together with no ideas prior.
No talking about this for the last 6 months whatsoever.
And that's on Unicorn Magic. Jot that down.
Oh, it's so wonderful to see you again. Come in and unwind. Welcome back to the Celestial Cafe, a podcast for the magical mind.
So come, take a seat. Would you like something sweet? A star drop potion for the soul? Maybe an enchanted eclair as a treat?
I just baked a batch of warm cookies with a dash of moonlight. I wonder what will happen if you take a little bite.
Here is your bewitching beverage. Let each sip melt your worries away. It's time to open your mind. I wonder what magic awaits us today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to... Oh, hi. Whoa, hi. Welcome to Celestial Cafe. We are a cozy little podcast for magical minds, big mugs of tea, and just a lot of casual roundtable chit-chat discussion about whatever we want, really. Anything magical, mystical, witchery, fantastical. Today, we are back with a mini episode. It's a new thing that we're doing here on the podcast. This is just a more bite-sized discussion of more specific topics that maybe few of the hosts just want to come in on rather than having a full 4-host extravaganza. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about unicorns. But before that, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Doogsley Dugertons, and I'm joined today by the lovely and freshly birthdayed Fuchsia. Happy birthday. Just passed recently.
Do I now look like I'm 87 years old? Because my back definitely decided to remind me that I'm 87 years old. So
boo-boo back. That sucks. I actually woke up with like a weird shoulder thing, so I guess we're both a little senior citizened out today.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to the museum on Saturday, which was my birthday, and I had to cancel. I was like, I cannot. My back just says no. And then we rescheduled it for Monday, but then it was too crowded on Monday, and I was too tired, so didn't end up going at all. But
that sucks.
That was my birthday.
You're gonna reschedule, right? You're gonna enjoy your day at the museum?
Probably not.
What? That was it. That was the only chance you had. Damn. Okay. Well,
it was because it was like a holiday weekend, so it was a free weekend. But my friends also had time off work and stuff. So.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you get your butt to the museum at some point. I just want to say quickly before we jump into some unicorn discussions, we wanted to thank everyone for the incredible support that we've been getting lately. The amount of listens that we've been getting and verbal love, and we also have 4 patrons now on our sweet little Patreon. Thank you all so much. This is a labor of love and creativity for all of us here at Celestial Cafe, and we are thankful that you choose us as some of your voices that fill up your day.
We really enjoy doing this, so we're glad that you enjoy doing it, and we're really excited to start getting into this more weekly content with these mini episodes. Today we're going to be talking all about unicorns and unicorn magic, and I'm really excited about it.
Cool. All right. So, I guess a good place to start, unicorns, right? We're talking about unicorns. Usually when people think of unicorns, it's part of like this fantasy animal smorgasbord that's sort of bundled in with dragons and elves and fairies. And unicorns have become this very mystical, ethereal creature that fills a lot of people's minds and energy fields. What do you think of the unicorn? What is the unicorn to you?
I the unicorn's kind of just always been a presence in my life, so it's always interesting when I hear people who like don't work with unicorns, don't believe in unicorns, what their perception of unicorn is like, oh, it's such a like boring, gentle creature, and I'm like, So, like, they can be fierce.
Yeah, they're beasts.
They can be very defensive. Like, they're generally not going to pick a fight, but they are good for a defense. And like, they can be fierce. They can fight. I guess they're very unassuming is what I guess is the best word about them.
They mind their own business unless their business is minded, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that they're very territorial creatures. But I think that this all could sound very silly to someone who might be like, but unicorns aren't real. Right? And while we're not going to be here to change anyone's minds, I do think that unicorns have a very specific archetype that is prevalent within this magical world that we choose to dwell in. It's one of those things, like, I mean, if you're already here, let's say a Celestial Cafe, you're probably going to be a little more open to some of the mindsets we have to unicorn magic and energy and lessons that might surround all of us and manifest in very mysterious ways. And yeah, to bounce off what you said, I think that unicorns are, they spend a lot of time by themselves. They're territorial. They like what they like, and I mean, a big part of the unicorn fantasy is that only very special individuals come across unicorns, special, whatever that means, like, and so they tend to not appear until they choose to appear before you, which I always find such an interesting energy dynamic in people's lives. And it's not that there's like a worthiness, so to speak, because I think that some people's journeys are not meant to involve the unicorn, but some people's are. And I'd like to think that you and I both have accepted the call of what unicorn magic entails, which is, of course, more than My Little Pony. And
no offense to My Little Pony, I loved it when I was a kid.
I loved it as an adult.
Yeah. True.
So listen up, every pony. We're gonna be getting into some unicorn magic today. I think that a good thing to point out is I actually want this is going to be a call to action. Anyone who's not a part of the Discord, I'm going to be adding a meme to the Discord once this episode is published everywhere. It's like those memes where it's like the virgin, like lame modern unicorn, and it's just like this big buff horse with a horn, and it's like the Chad old school unicorn, and it's more of this lithe goat-like tufts of fur coming off of the limbs, more mischievous-like creature rather than this big bulking hulk of muscular horse that we're used to seeing. And I actually, for this episode, I did a little bit of research because I realized I didn't know much about like unicorn upbringing, and like lore.
I have a whole book.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, that's such a cute book, too. I like that picture. See, show that unicorn again. That's more, sorry to audio listeners, but that's more of the old school unicorn that I was describing.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this book when we talk about the history because it is great.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm just going to say what I learned today upon my little bit of absorbing of unicorn information, which is the first sighting, speaking of unicorn, was in like Mesopotamia, which is where a lot of these weird occult things happen, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed that, but Mesopotamia must have been just like a rich place for people to explore these things and mindsets. But with and what it was described as like this creature that was the size of a horse with a big horn, and then it was later on that who was the adventurer? There was a guy. There was a boy who.
There was a boy. There's always a boy. I don't know.
It was one of those big adventurer guys. Marco Polo, that's his name. Marco Polo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the adventure boy, Marco Polo, wrote in his findings that he was basically like, actually, like the idea of what people had of unicorns is wrong, because I saw a unicorn and it had a big horn not on its head but on its nose, and instead of having hooves it had giant elephant feet, and its body was more so brusque and large, and people now looking back are like, okay, the dude found a rhinoceros, not a unicorn. So those were like two of the earliest discussions of unicorns, and that's really all I got history-wise. Do you have anything else to comment about it?
I've always found the history of unicorns fascinating, because it's like dragons. They have been mentioned everywhere at all times throughout history, pretty much, like and these different civilizations that had no contact with each other back in 3000 BC. Like there were mentions of unicorns in Chinese culture, and there was mention of unicorns in India and in Mesopotamia. And so it's one of those things that I find, as a kid, I was like, you could not convince me that unicorns were not real once upon a time. Like, physical, I mean, I still think they're real, but like, if physically real existed in our lands once upon a time, because every civilization had like a unicorn in their myths, in their folklore, in their stories, and not even that, but like in their what they regarded as like their scientific findings. Like they regarded this as not just a mythical being, but as an actual creature that existed. So like it's one of those things. It's really unique, really interesting, but it's also one of those things where in China the unicorn historically was seen as more of that fierce protector.
Right. What are they called? Quilins?
Hold on. Let me.
I don't know if I've ever said that word out loud.
It has an apostrophe in it, so I never know how to pronounce things like that. God,
we butchered this. So sorry. It's something. It's Quilin, I believe. Killing. You keep looking for that, but I'll talk about something real quick about unicorns while you're looking. But I think nowadays, we mostly deal with unicorns that are lithe and powerful and pure. That's a very good word for the modern unicorn. Pure of heart, pure of mind, and they don't really like listen to anyone though. They kind of work within their own societies, right? And I think that all these mindsets and words that we've used for unicorns and unicorn archetypes, like pure and yet beastly, yet athletic, and they're also very curious about humans, but they never get too close. It's a very fair boundaried creature. I think that when we step into like this unicorn magical world, we can start to sort of absorb some of these mindsets and lifestyle choices and traits that unicorns have. And I want to ask you if you could talk a little bit about, have you ever done unicorn magic in any way, shape, or form?
I have. I mean, I feel like a lot of what I've done throughout my life has been unicorn magic without deliberately like putting a that mindset to it. But I have done I started specifically doing unicorn magic a couple of years ago. It feels like to me when other people do like astral projection and astral realm travel, it's kind of like that, like like when I do unicorn magic, like I go to another world kind of.
Yeah, it's a liminal space, I think, for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I do I have an offering through my website called the Unicornucopia reading, and it's a reading that is based upon me sort of communing with the Querent's unicorn guide, and I've always found it to be this really heady tarot reading adventure, as opposed to maybe a more grounded one where I'm like rooted in reality in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think that unicorn magic is really good at it. It is what we make of it, but I think for me, I've processed most of it on this, I like the word astral scale, but I think that unicorn magic is also useful on an earthly scale.
Definitely.
Because they're extensions of nature, which I also want to bring up a talking point that I've been rolling around, which is I'm of the belief that unicorn is fae.
Yes.
Yeah, you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they like when I work with the fae, I work with them separately from unicorns, but it's very like they're kind of like an extended family kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's the same feeling, it's the same kind of work that I'm doing.
Yeah, like I agree with that too, and I kind of put dragons in that category too. I work with dragons as well, and I find them to be all a part of like this fae liminal space. We see you, you don't see us, sort of mind games that they like to play.
I have a shelf. I my altar is many shelves of different things. And I have a shelf that's it's unicorn and fae altar. They are together. I mean, like I have a fairy garden set up in it that has unicorn figurines. So they're very intertwined with me. Yeah.
It's a perfect fit, I feel, and I think that for anyone who practices fae magic, I definitely recommend dipping your toes into unicorn magic. Now, I think that this is a good jumping off point where we can talk about what do we do in magic that is unicorn adjacent. Like, because like what of in our magical practices, like props or mindsets or like phrases or turn of phrases that we use within our practice that keep us close to unicorns. And I just want to show off real quick the main prop I use, which is my selenite unicorn horn wand, which I believe you see. We both have one.
I have two different shapes.
That's awesome. Mine is like very like on the nose, like I can put it on my forehead, like unicorn horn.
This one's an actual like wand.
Right. I love that. That's so beautiful. And
I don't think my camera's focusing.
And you can't really see on mine, but I'm sure you could see if you compared both me and Fuchsia's. Mine's really beat up. I use this for everything secretly. Secretly, I'm infusing everything with unicorn magic. And the whole point of the unicorn's horn is that it is the way it heals within like folklore and literature. Like that's its healing power coming from the third eye. Right, which is another reason why I think that unicorn magic for me is so heady. And so like psychic magical rather than grounded. And I like to even just do this sometimes and just visualize like all like the gunk kind of swirling through my body and sort of just being able to fall out of the horn sort of as like a spout of energy. But I know that unicorns love crystals. They love beautiful things. They're kind of Venusian an energy, honestly, where they appreciate, but they also appreciate like the down and dirty. They'd love this selenite, but they'd also love if I put it in the dirt and kind of mushed it around and then gave it as an offering too, you know. What do you use in your practice?
So I obviously I use these. I mostly use these. I often use these specifically to cleanse my tarot decks. Obviously my last unicorn tarot deck, which is my favorite. So I show it sometimes often on the podcast, but specifically that one always gets cleansed with this.
It's a perfect fit.
I use this for my tarot. I use my both unicorn selenite for cleansing my tarot decks. I have a couple books. I have Llewellyn's Little Book of Unicorns by Angela Wicks and Unicorn Magic by Tess Whitehurst. Great unicorn magic books, and they have a lot of meditation exercises in them. So when I meditate on these with these exercises, I actually do put it on my forehead and meditate with it.
Oh, like no, that. It's so good. And I wanna back up at least Unicorn Magic by Tess Whitehurst. One of the I think it's the only like true unicorn esoteric magic book that's out there that involves spell work and meditations and finding your unicorn guides, which I wanted to talk about as well.
Too. This one's
does
newer.
It?
Yeah,
okay.
This one's newer. And
wow.
It does too. Yeah.
All right, I'll have to look into that because I got the Tess one like in like 2020, so that's pretty new too. Okay, I didn't know that was so new, so I'll have to look into that as well. But I can definitely vouch for Unicorn Magic. It is always the book I recommend to people that are wanting to seek out a more magical way of jumping into Unicorn Magic. It's so... and the person who wrote it is so flowery and so genuine in the way she writes it. It's really a joy. It's a creative flow that I think is really fun. So check that out if you're interested.
The very first exercise in this book is literally just going outside and laying on the grass and staring at the clouds and letting your mind wander. And it's like it's like meditation, except you're letting your mind wander and you're letting your imagination run away with you. And it is just like to get you in that mindset of like that otherworldly feeling of working with unicorns.
And
I loved it.
And that freedom. I think that's another really powerful unicorn word, vocabulary term is freedom. They are untethered. They don't have masters. They are free and wild and beastly and dangerous, surely, if you don't know what you're doing. I think that they would not hesitate to hurt to protect themselves. And I think that, I don't know, that freedom of like rules and regulations that unicorns have, I think that's one of the first things that I started experiencing when I started working with unicorns was like this freedom from, I don't know, societal expectation, just sort of allowing myself to enter a more personal flow rather than sticking with rigid, expected schedules and mindsets, I suppose.
I feel like just letting yourself believe in unicorns is like the first step of unicorn magic, of that freedom.
That's true.
Just because like for years, like it was like, oh, like hide it away because people are going to think you're like a little child and you're being silly. I mean, we get that with magic in general, but especially like even in magical communities, like sometimes I'm hesitant to say like I work with unicorns because people will be like, that's weird.
Like we're weird, but you're weirder. So no, and I agree with that. I do think that there's like a weird little stigma with stuff like this, and with dragons, and with Fae, even Fae being probably the most accessible out of all of these. But it I think that I agree with you. little different because I think that there's got to be some people listening to this that are like, I've always believed in unicorns, you know, and I'm definitely one of those people that, I mean, like when I was a kid, I went to the zoo, and in the gift shop they had unicorn horn necklaces. I was like, wait, the unicorns? We didn't go to the unicorn exhibit? I was like, let's go back around. I was like, no, they were sleeping today. Like, take the necklace. I'll get you the necklace. And I went to school the next day, and I was like, oh, I got it's a unicorn horn. I have a unicorn horn, and you don't. And that's when someone was like, and like I was like first, second grade, and the guy had to be like, unicorns aren't real. Like,
I had a very similar story. I was in third grade.
and it's just like, yeah, they are. And I don't know. I definitely, it felt right to me at the time. And like I look back and laugh because it's just, it's so cute. But like I think that, of course, unicorns don't always have to exist on our plane. It's subtle too. I think a lot of these magical things we discuss on here are very subtle and not very in your face. Like I'd love to hear stories of people who have interacted with physically unicorns, but I can say that I haven't.
I would love to.
Yeah, but
we all know exactly how that would go. If you've seen The Last Unicorn, there is a reason I identify with Molly Grew.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen The Last Unicorn, we plan on doing a movie night in the Discord. But they're basically, Molly Grew is like, she's been living with bandits in the forest, and you don't know anything about her backstory. There are theories which are fascinating, but but like, she, all you know is that she is very poor, living like in the forest with bandits, tattered clothes, like living on very watered down rat stew, and she encounters a unicorn, and she's like, why have you come to me now? Like, why didn't you come to me 10 years ago? Why have you come to me now when I'm old and broken and ugly and this? And I'm just like, that's going to be me. I will be 80 years old, which is 7 years younger than I am now.
Oh, yeah.
I will be 80 years old and finally encounter a unicorn, a physical unicorn in the world. And I'll be like, why have you come to me now? That's going to be it. But I haven't yet.
And unicorns are definitely for all ages. You don't have to be a kid to believe in unicorns, and you don't have to be a heathenous old witch living on the outskirts of society to believe in unicorns either.
And you don't have to be a girl.
True. That's very true. Unicorn magic is for all genders and all experiences of identity, for sure. And I think
we can thank the wonderful Catholic Church for their representation of the young maiden can only attract unicorns.
True, that's true. There are some gatekeeping beliefs that come with unicorns that just straight up aren't real. It's because I know from the way that unicorns work that they'll show up to anyone who they feel is beautiful, and to me, the beauty that they look for, of course, is meant to radiate from like the inside out, right? And I think that another thing I wanted to bring up with unicorn magic in particular is they love light. They love lights. They love spotlights. I've noticed they love twinkly lights. Whenever I work with unicorns, I always have a bunch of little tea lights around. They're and I think that the way that they work their magic best is if you're honest with yourself. I think that's what they honor the most is people who honor who they are in their entirety. They will show up, and this goes into another thing I want to talk about, which is our personal unicorn guides, which not everyone has a unicorn guide, and that's fine. But I would like to think that those who seek one out, there's one for them. Because this is such like a niche energy transaction, right? That is between unicorns and us earthlings. And I think that if, let's say that you're listening and you want to find and talk to and commune with your unicorn guide, I think that showing up with just an honest heart, an open mind, a curious spirit. They love curiosity. They love people that can step into a sense of wonder. That's like a pretty powerful word, wonder. What does that mean? What does it mean to choose wonder and chase wonder? It's this childlike curiosity and joy and for life and for its experiences, and unicorns celebrate that. Unicorns celebrate that sense of vitality, childlike joy and vitality. And I think that unicorns like to show up for people who are they're kind of butterfly-esque for me in spirit, where the unicorns often show up when I'm in a moment of transformation. Is that apply to you too?
For me, it's more they kind of. I always think of them showing up when I need that protective sense, like when I need to, and when not specifically when I need to stand my ground on things. Ooh. When I need that extra, them not protecting me, but the extra push for me to protect myself and to stand my ground and to defend, kind of thing.
True.
That's often, and that is often right before a moment of transformation. They kind of go hand in hand for me, because it's one of those things that, I don't know, maybe I don't encounter those moments that often, but they usually kind of go hand in hand and encounter them more often lately.
No, that's so
maybe
true.
That's because I'm working with unicorns more. Thanks, unicorns. But
the unicorns are good at that.
Yeah, when I think of, because like I've mentioned a couple times, I think of I mean, obviously, like the pure and innocent unicorn, and everyone has their own take on what that means. I don't believe that pure and innocent means what the common definition of, like, colloquial definition of pure and innocent is, but like I do associate that with unicorns. But for me, when I think of unicorn energy in my life, it's the pure defense of myself, the protectiveness of what. And also, like, because for most of my life, I was not fierce about going out and getting what I wanted, and put everyone else ahead of me. Like my unicorns push me to do that.
Nice.
Which has definitely changed my life a lot.
Wow.
But yeah, that's like, when I think of unicorn energy, I think of like that fierce defense, like very like Seven of Wands, kind of.
Right. Yeah.
Like standing your ground.
Definitely. Ooh, that's so cool. It's funny because, like, while I do like acknowledge and see that part of unicorns, I utilize my guides a little differently, and I think that this is going to ring true for a lot of other people who have unicorn guides. I think that unicorns are very multifaceted and can show up in many different forms for someone. For fuchsias, it's more of a defense, strength, grounding, like almost like Taurus energy, sort of like weighted protection, like almost like offense is the best defense sort of thing, sort of standing your ground and being mine is I channel my unicorns very so I have two guides, and it reflecting, I was like, like critically thinking about my guides today and just sort of like rolling them around my head. They're quite yin and yang energetically, where I utilize one of them for, I suppose, more aligned with what you were just speaking of, more of a action-based, creation-based mindset and flow, and my other unicorn is used for that healing portion that they control. And keep in mind, like, another part of like the lore is like, not only is their horns healing, but their horns can heal anything. Is the lore. And it's not nice to carry around that type of energy. Of course, I'm not going to delude myself into thinking it'll heal me, right? But it is a healing force that is all-encompassing and non-committal in a way where, like, it's not going to just, like, stick to one thing. It's going to spread. It's an AoE. It's an AoE spell. I'm getting AoE healed by the unicorn. No cooldown. It can't be interrupted. It's full power. And I think mostly I contact and commune with my guides when I'm on the search of creativity, because a lot of my artwork is very rooted in in at least for right now. The way I'm creating a lot of art right now is like with crayons and with like markers and like stuff that I would collect in my pencil box in grade school, right? And I'm really enjoying connecting with art in that way, finger painting, right? And I think that I feel my unicorn so strong when I'm like connecting with this inner child. Another word that comes up a lot in this podcast. And I mean, both of our stories of unicorns come from childhood. And I think that unicorns are a really good way of just reconnecting with this, and specifically our inner child that is amazed and flabbergasted by the world around them.
Wonder, the word that you used before is wonder, like the inner child and the wonder. That's what the unicorn is all about.
Yeah, and I think that once we unlock, I think that first, I agree, you have to believe in unicorns to use unicorn magic in some capacity, or even be curious enough. Like I said, they appreciate curiosity, so they'll know whether or not to come knocking after your curiosity is piqued, right? Because once again, I really think that for the most part, unicorns choose you. But you can always come knocking on the door and see what happens, see what answers, right?
Yeah,
but
like I always think, because going back to one of the other ways I use it, unicorn magic is purity, but like purity of self. Like unicorns, like, am I being true to myself? Am I being like I have my own kind of threshold, like not threshold, like I have my own barometer of like, this is who I am, and acting at this level, like in my mind, makes me like worthy of unicorn, like presence. Not their judgment, that's my judgment. But I think like one of the things that does help you call them to you is the purity of self and like being true to yourself and being being like honest about who you are. You don't have to be pure and innocent and perfect. They first of all, unicorns would get bored with that. They
get bored
definitely
with that.
they definitely like their fae. They like a little bit of mischief. But they just want you to be true to yourself when like in order, like I think that's what calls them to people.
And if you're sitting here being like, what the fuck is my purity? Like, what does that mean? I think a good way of unlocking that is through that inner child, through that's at least a good baseline, a good foundation, because like, what is more pure than a child influenced by television and media and just like parents and friends and peers, right? And what were those things you used to enjoy when you were a kid before the haze of adulting set in, right? And the unicorns really celebrate that. They like to see humans sort of re-exploring this younger soul that we tend to lose as we get more connected to modern society right now.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like you are, in general, just Gemini things versus Capricorn things. In general, you are much more in tune with your inner child than, or not in tune, but you express your inner child a lot more.
Yeah.
For me, I don't really do that except when I am working with unicorns, when I'm doing unicorn magic, or even talking about unicorns, thinking about unicorns. Like, that is where it comes out for me.
That's amazing.
But that's the inner child, and I think that in itself is like just
a huge key.
Good example of like unicorn magic for me is the inner, like, expressing inner child for me.
Yeah. Expressing expression. I'm trying to think of other unicorn words. They love fun. They love they're very lighthearted, you know, and they don't take life too seriously, but they take their life seriously, if that makes sense. And I definitely relate to that, where like I take my silliness very seriously. Is something I talk about a lot. Like I need room and space to be silly, and I think that is once again connects to their freedom. They want the freedom to be and do whatever they want to do. And I think that unicorns are also very fool-like. I think in magic, there's somewhere, I feel like they're like this healthy ball of like the fool, the magician, the high priestess, that first set of ego that sort of jumps into the tarot, where they have this incredible intuition and, like I said, third eye magic that the high priestess carries, but they also have this very affirmative, very direction mindful, inventive, creative, magical spirit of the magician. And most of all, they have the freedom and the spirit of the fool, where they just let loose and let free. And I think that those three cards can be awesome for working with the unicorns as well. And
that I guess leads into I know both of us work with unicorns with tarot and oracle decks.
Yes, there are a lot of decks out there, and of course you don't need decks. This is just a little bonus if you're that's the main way I work with unicorns, is through my cards. And is it the same with you?
It's the main way, like it's the easiest way for me to contact them and get guidance, because I know we both like use them as spirit guides. How to like to talk to them, like what just in general with tarot, but then also I have I have two oracle decks that are different vibes, very different vibes with unicorns, that will give me guidance on just like spirit guidance. So I have my last unicorn tarot deck.
Beautiful.
That is absolutely beautiful. I love it.
I wish I had that. That's so gorgeous.
Signed by Peter Beagle, author of The Last Unicorn. I got to meet him in September.
I'd throw up. I would throw up. I'd be so excited.
And I know you have the Crystal Unicorn deck. I also have that. Do you still do the Unicorn Tarot reading? Do you still have that available? Doogsley has a unicorn reading, a tarot reading, to get in touch with your unicorn guide if you are ever interested. She did this reading for me, and it was amazing. Not to shill our products, but
thanks. It's honestly my favorite offering, because it's not for everyone. I think that's why I like it so much. I don't think that the average person is going to want to order my unicorn tarot card reading. I think that very specific people get drawn to unicorn magic, and it's always so exciting when they accept the call. I feel like it's one of I tout myself almost as like a unicorn ambassador, because I love to be that sort of middle ground of channeling between the two, and sort of make it a more normalized, yet magical, yet wonderful, yet expansive, like tether between, like I said, like this earthly space and this liminal space that the Fae love to celebrate in. But here's, and I'm just gonna, for those who are seeing it, the Crystal Unicorn Tarot is this very pastel, this is actually one of my favorite cards, the Three of Swords. It's this very pastel experience with a Rider-Waite-Smith twist to just a bunch of beautiful. This card, oh god, this card gives me like PTSD. This Queen of Wands in particular followed me everywhere for like 2 years, which is, I think, perfect for unicorn magic too. But yeah, this is one of my holy grail decks in general, and I always use it for unicorn communication. What other decks do you have?
And always use it for my readings.
Yeah? Okay, good.
Well, no, like almost every single time you're like, I have been doing these readings
use it for you
with this deck,
it's true.
But I'm feeling the unicorns for you.
What? It's always, as soon as I know that there's a unicorn fan, I'm like, I'm getting the unicorn deck out for sure.
So I have 2 oracle decks. I have this one. It's called the Magic of Unicorns. It's very, very like what. Floofy kind of. Oh, you have it too. I didn't realize you got it. Yeah, it's very more of the fluffy, lighthearted. I mean, it's still got some. I mean, the first card right here that I have pulled up, of course, Spiritual Warrior, because that's my card, I suppose. So, but it's nice and rainbows and fluffy, and will make you feel good, and that's a very like good spirit guide one when I want to talk to unicorns and get guidance from them.
I pull this deck out when I'm looking for like real like this is when I'm talking about like heady stuff, because like this deck also is talking about chakras, it's talking about stargates and Lyra and like other star systems and cosmic rubies. Like, what does this mean? It's really, really out there, I think. And I don't know.
And I like this because if you look in the book, it has like an activity to do with every card, like a little meditation to actually like connect with your unicorn spirit guide. So I love that deck when I need guidance. And then this deck you actually introduced me to, and I love it, is the Enchanted Unicorn Oracle. It is a completely different vibe. It is funky. It is out there. It is
it's a little like, psychedelic. It's very
psychedelic. It's based on the what is it?
I say the Voynich manuscripts.
Yeah, which is a whole thing in itself worth checking out. I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's very like 60s. There's literally a card 1969 and 1967 in here. So it's very Summer of Love feel.
I agree with that.
And I love this. I use this when I want that other aspect of unicorn magic that I don't really use a lot. Like I use like the spirit guide, and I use the fierceness, and I use the like purity of self. But this is the other, like, if I need to get in touch with like the other stuff, like what little like mischief kind of like not even like it's a little of the mischief feeling, but it's more like just like it's more like
this is a very earthy,
unexpected, I guess. Yeah.
I think it's very earthy. I think it's very Fae, this deck. I think that, I mean, I'm looking at cards that like is talking about like psychedelics and like embrace your differences and cupcake. There's a card for cupcakes. Like it's very playful and very silly and yet very nature filled. Every unicorn has its own specific herb attached to it in this deck.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I didn't even bring up, which is herbs for unicorns. I actually don't use many herbs when working with unicorns. I just pick up some dirt from the outdoors and I get some. I give it like stuff that's around me that I they love flowers, they love color, they love it's so hard to like narrow down like unicorns like peppermint, because I really think not all unicorns are built the same. I think you gotta explore and get to know your own unicorn, you know, what that means to you. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, like I know definitely like my unicorn loves lavender. That has always been like a constant in lilac and lavender my whole life. That has that's been like what drew like as a kid, like would draw the unicorn to me. We had lilac and lavender right outside my bedroom window, so maybe it's just that connection from watching The Last Unicorn 7 million times as a kid. But it's also like when I think of it, I'm like, when you mention herbs, I'm like lavender. But then I'm sitting here like, not for everyone though. Yeah, definitely not for everyone. That's definitely my unicorn.
And I think that's what's so cool about unicorn magic, because I think that there's a lot of things in witchcraft online that's like, in order to call this fae, or in order to call this deity, you gotta use this type of rose petal, but this rose petal's gonna push them away, and then this treat is good, but only if it's sugar-free. Like, just these, boundaries, I suppose. But I think that the fun thing with unicorn magic, and I think that this is actually pours over to a lot of different magic as well, secretly, without people knowing, is that only you know best what your magic is asking for. And it's going to be the same for unicorn, because it's so personal. It's a little different. It could be a little different with fae, because fae usually show up and have wants and needs. But and I'm talking about your unicorn. If you're seeing a unicorn out in the wild, something crazy's afoot, and I'm very jealous.
It's not
of you.
Just the psychedelics.
No, not this time. It's I don't know. I think that with unicorn magic, what it's done for me is that it's allowed me to be a kid again. I mean, Fuchsia is right. It's always been pretty easy for me to channel my inner child. But I think that with following unicorn archetypes, it's allowed me to be a little bit more fearless with my youthfulness and my love for all things wondrous and being allowing myself to be blown over with awe, and allowing myself to be swept up in the magic of everything, you know, allowing myself to just explore and play more unapologetically. And once again, I think that the beastness comes out within me when someone tries to stop me from exploring those things. I've become more confident in being like, this may not be comfortable for you, but it's comfortable for me. And you have to give me the space to allow me to be myself, right? Yeah. And it's kind of interesting, like, looking back over the years, because I've only started to take, like, unicorn magic pretty seriously within the last, like, 4 or 5 years. So I'm still watching it evolve, watching my guides sort of evolve with me and guide me. They're very solar, lunar based, respectively, looking at it now. But I think that, the biggest aid that unicorns have done for me is just being open to magic in and of itself, right? And I think that I don't know, believing in unicorns is the first step. Okay.
It is, or at least willing to have the belief.
Right. Like I said earlier, like curiosity is good enough.
Yeah. Because there are some people who will even like, I know there will be some people who are witches who listen to this episode who will be like, who like listen to it and hear the topic and they're like, no, unicorns aren't real, and they'll move on. And
that's fine.
That's great. That just means unicorns aren't for you.
More for me. More unicorns for me.
But the thing I love about unicorn magic is about how completely unique it is to each individual. Like, obviously, like, we have some similarities. We also have some similarities in our practice in general. But like, the way we discussed it, like, we use, like, this unicorn magic in very different ways most of the time. And I think that's, like, if you're interested in unicorn magic, don't know where to start, that's when it's good to, like, look at, like I say, this is a good starting point with working with the Fae also in general, is look at the myths, look at the folklore, look at the stories, look at the history of unicorns, of Fae. And there are so many different things that unicorns can embody that you will find the unicorn, or the unicorn will find you, that is right for you, that is what you need. Like,
and it's kind of interesting because for some people, like, they receive this, like, very vivid image of the unicorns, right? But sometimes you might just pick up on a scent or the tingling of wind chimes, and or colors, tastes, just some sort of activation of these five senses, or something beyond that, you know? And I think a part of unicorn magic too is, like, just, I don't know, being open to whatever shows up and whatever feels right. It probably is. It's a very subtle magic, and the overlap between unicorn and Fae are real. Like, super. The Venn diagram's very circular, right? Which, by the way, we will have a Fae episode soon. We owe you all a Fae episode, so we'll get around to that pretty soon. But is there anything else that you want to talk about real quick?
No, I was looking at the time thinking we should wrap up. As I said at the beginning of the episode, this book, if you want to learn about unicorn history, folklore, mythology, this book is great. It's The Unicorn by Nancy Hathaway. You can tell if you're looking at the video, I have read this a lot. It's great. I have had this literally pretty much my entire life. I don't remember getting this book. I have just always had this book, but it goes into, like, the history, it goes into the mythology, it has lots of art, like, from different cultures. There's even a section on someone who made, a scientist who made a unicorn out of a cow.
Whoa.
Yeah, right? In the 1930s. Look up Dr. W. Franklin Dove at the University of Maine.
Oh, whoa. Chad.
So there's a little unicorn cow.
What? That's not okay. What?
So there's a lot in this book. It's pretty great. Cool. I recommend it. It has a recommendation from Peter Beagle on the back of it.
Ah,
cool.
Very cool.
It's a great book if you want to, like, any of these three books, but if you want to just start learning about, like, unicorns, the folklore, the history, how it's shown up throughout the world, throughout history, this is a good book. The other two books that I mentioned, Little Book of Unicorns and Unicorn Magic, are great for actually getting started with working with the unicorns.
And if you're one of these people listening, you're like, whoa, I really want a unicorn guide, but I want to do none of the work, then you can always get a reading from me. I'll help you out.
I still put in the work, but I still got to
No. I'm just kidding. The unicorns want you to work, but, like, if you're looking for help on trying to connect with the unicorns, I love working with unicorns. I think that, once again, it's very subtle, very slow, very powerful, and there's a space for you if this calls to you, because this is such a specific calling, I think. And I'm sure we're going to talk about more unicorns more during the Fae episode that we're going to have one day. I think we
sometime this
planned
spring,
one.
I think.
I think
right?
I think we have one planned. I'm just not entirely sure when. But
We were thinking probably around Beltane.
that makes sense.
But
It's a very Fae
nothing set in
moment.
stone, but,
All right. And so I think that's it. I think we're going to wrap up today's episode here. Thank you all so much for tuning in, hanging out with us. If you have any unicorn questions, please contact us. There's multiple ways to hang out with us. I believe we have an email address if you want to pop us an email. You can find that email on celestialcafe.org. I'm not sure of the exact address. I believe it's all the way at the bottom of the page. celestialcafe.org. That's our website.
I believe it's, let's see, celestialcafepodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, there it is. That's the email.
But the best way, if you want to have whole conversations with all of us and
Yes.
others, is Discord.
Is the Discord. Yes, the Discord is popping. There's also a link to that on the website. Anything else? Do you want to drop your website real quick?
Yeah, my website has all my social links, lunarlibraries.com. You can get to my YouTube, where I, in theory, often talk about unicorns, when I make videos.
We're getting there.
I have my makeup done. I might make a video tonight. I don't know.
Beautiful. Oh my god. That's so exciting.
But yeah, lunarlibraries.com, you can get to all my social links, and I talk a lot about unicorns all over the place.
Me too. We both blather on a bit about unicorns wherever we are. And you can catch me on faezy.love, FAEZI.love. That's where I have my unicorn offerings, and I'm working on some blog posts, one of which is going to be one on unicorn magic. So that should be out. Oh god, I don't know why I said that. I don't know when. It'll be there one day. So you'll pop on. You'll be like, wow.
Probably by the time this posts, or the week that this posts, I will have a blog post about more about what we talked about.
Dope. Okay, cool. So unicorns forever. That's what I feel. Thank you all so much for hanging out today. Unicorns bless all of you that have shown up and chose us to talk about some magic, unicorn magic forever. Okay, I think I'm done. Take care, everyone. Goodbye. Happy Celestial Cafe episode day. Woohoo! Bye.